Good morning, everyone. How are we? Morning, TikTok. Morning, Facebook. Morning, YouTube. It's the first triple stream back after my holiday. I was on yesterday morning, but I was just on in the car because we just had TikTok. We don't have the triple stream in the car because I'm just on my phone. But we had the triple stream last night. But anyway, this is the first morning triple stream. So hello to that is live. Not as many of you live because I've just come straight on. And if you are watching this back on Facebook or YouTube later on, hello. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all happy, healthy, and well. It is Tuesday. What date are we on? Tuesday, the 14th of October. How are we nearly halfway through October? How are we nearly through October? We say this all the time. Time just passes by very, very quickly. Time disappears. But yeah, we're nearly halfway through October. Halloween, 2 weeks on Friday. But do you know not the worst? Look, it's going to happen. Can't do anything about it. But the thing that's like for me is like, what? I think the clocks go a week. Let me Google it. I think it's always the last Saturday of October, which is a week on Saturday. When do the clocks go back? So well, Sunday, isn't it? It's Sunday, the 26th. So Saturday, Sunday. So not this weekend. Next weekend, the clocks go. Do they go back or forwards? No, they go back, don't they? So it gets darker. Yeah. I always remember it: spring forward, fall back. That's how you remember. So the clocks. The advantage is we get an extra hour in bed. So a week on Saturday, a week on Sunday, an extra cheeky hour in bed. But that's when the dark nights hit, and we've got like November. No, it's 4 months in it. It's 4 months. It's not a big chunk of the year, really. But November, December, Jan, Feb. Once you get to the end of Feb, it's kind of light again at like 6, 6:30. Then another few weeks, then the clocks go forward. But yeah, that's when you know that. That's when you know. Like, I know it's still technically classed as autumn, but that's when you know you're getting full into winter. It is cold this morning. I'm absolutely Baltic. I've only got a thin fleece on. I've just been out. I'm a bit late this morning. I did plan to be on at 8:30, but this was before I sent the newsletter out and stuff. Rachel is on a works trip. She thought it was actually Wednesday, Thursday this week, but she's going this afternoon. So I've took her into work so I can have the car. And then rush hour. I hate rush hour. It's not actually that bad, but we were a little bit late. We were meant to leave at 7:30. We didn't leave till 7:45. And then I decided I like nipping into the Aldi near Rachel's work. It's slightly different to the Aldi that I go into on a regular basis. Didn't go to Aldi for 12 days. So, I've been in twice now in 2 days. So just making up for it. And I did put a brand new Aldi restart shopping vlog on yesterday. It's had 200 views. If you've not gone and had a look, there's a few meal ideas in there, bits and pieces that I've grabbed this week. Meal ideas have changed slightly because I didn't realize Rachel was away. So when Rachel's away, I normally go for food that I wouldn't normally eat when Rachel's here. Fish or lamb. She doesn't like lamb. She doesn't like fish. All right, do you do lamb, chicken, and fish? No. Do you deliver? No, we do lamb, chicken, and fish. That's the badger. But I'm not doing. I'm kind of sticking to me guns. Can't wait for lunch today. Lunch, I'm making steak and egg tacos. It's a lunch I had. I think we had it 4 times out of 7 days on holiday. It was absolutely sensational. So good. Anyway, I'm going to replicate it in Real Lost Boss style. I have no idea what the calories were on holiday. They will have used quite a bit of oil. They used quite a lot of cheese, but I'm going to replicate it calorie control style. It's going to be 620 calories, but 62 grams of protein. And that's for 2 tacos. You could just have one, maybe with a side salad or something like that if you want to. Anyway, There we go. That's that. Yeah, that's the plan today. So that will be out tomorrow. So I've actually got a weekly weight loss vlog out on YouTube. If you don't follow me on YouTube, make sure you follow me. Obviously, you guys on Facebook, YouTube, I assume you do follow me on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button. Over there, about 60% of the people that watch my content on YouTube aren't subscribers. So, you know, if you could hit that subscribe button, that would be amazing. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by Christmas. Last Christmas, my aim was to get to 1,500 subscribers by Christmas, right? And I missed it, but I'm trying to double that this year. Every little helps. So I'm at about 2,700 subscribers at the moment. So I normally gain about 150 a month. So obviously I've got the rest of October, all of November. So I'm hoping I should be there. But with your help, if you have a YouTube channel and you don't subscribe to me, please go and click the subscribe button over there. That'd be amazing. It does work. The more subscribers you have, the more your content gets pushed out. That's kind of the way a lot of algorithms. It's not necessarily true for all algorithms, but certainly for YouTube, that is the thing. So anyway, today I'm going to have a weekly weight loss vlog out. It's not like it's a slightly different weekly weight loss vlog in a different location. You'll have to watch it to see what that location is. So that'll be out today, and then recipe out tomorrow, and then a worth the calories will be out on Friday. So first week back, still getting plenty of content out as best as I can. For you guys. There we go. Right, so let's do top 5 on TikTok. I've been waffling a little bit. Let's see who's in this morning. Faye's in at number 1. Sheila's in at number 2. Lisa's in at number 3. Good holiday. Fantastic, Lisa. Thank you very much. Donna's in at number 4. And Gemma is in at number 5. Good morning, guys. Thank you very much for jumping straight on the live, coming and saying hello. Who else is in? Let's do some more good morning. Steph GC, Maureen, good morning, good morning, good morning. Regan's in, good morning. Kevin's in, morning, mate. Lynn's in, good morning. Michael P's in, morning, stranger, morning, mate. Hope you're good. Callum, good morning. Neil, started doing weights again. Is it going to affect my weight on the scales? No. A lot of people think that, I'm going to, I'm not losing weight because I'm going to the gym. Look, lifting weights, yeah, it might cause a little bit of swelling in the body, but nothing that's going to massively counterbalance fat loss. Nothing that's going to, and don't get me wrong, we have to understand the difference between weight gain and fat gain, weight loss and fat loss, right? If you do start doing weights in the gym and you lose a pound of body fat over a week and you gain a pound of water retention through a bit of swelling, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, but Neil, how do I know whether my weight gain is fat gain or count your calories? It really is that simple. It is physically impossible to gain this stuff if you are in a calorie maintenance or less. Physically impossible, right? Physics, right? You just can't. It's like saying, yeah, I've not put any petrol in my car, but this morning there's 10 pounds more petrol in, or there's 10 litres more petrol in than there was last night. Really? Does that not sound daft? Like, does your car grow petrol overnight? No, I wish it did. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But that's what you're saying to yourself, right? If you're literally like, I'm getting fatter, even though I'm in a calorie maintenance, nonsense. If you're getting fatter, you're in a calorie surplus. Right? It really is that simple. So you might weigh yourself weekly and in a week gain 2 pounds. But if you've tracked your calories, your calorie allowance is correct. And if James works with me, so if you work with me or you've joined my community, you're on my one-to-one plan, your calories are right. And I'm going to start. I've been a weight loss coach over 4 years now, right? And probably the first 2-3 years, I still questioned myself a little bit because when we're calculating calories, there is a little bit of a guesstimate in there. There has to be. Why? Because there's no direct number we can compare it to. when we're, if you're guesstimating Weetabix, not Weetabix, let's say Cocoa Pops, how many, or you have them like competitions. Guess how many Smarties are in the jar, right? And someone will guess, oh, there's 300. Someone will guess 600, right? We then know how many Smarties are actually in that jar because we can empty the jar out and count them. And you might be like, no, well, there was 500, right? So we can compare and we can say how good someone's guess is, because we've got something. We don't have that luxury with calories, right? But what we do have with calories is we have a very decent formula called the Harris Benedict formula for calculating metabolism. This has been around for years, and it is, and how we can see where the calories are correct or not is by working out calories. At the end of the day, this is 3,500 calories, right? And you only consistently lose, the scales will only consistently go down through consistent fat loss, right? Yes, water weight, food weight, water retention will cause the scales to fluctuate. And at the start of your journey or after a period of overindulgence, we'll get little whoosh effects, just like we can get reverse whooshes by going on holiday for a week where we don't just gain body fat. But over time, the majority of weight loss is this stuff. And that's what I do with my clients when they check in. I kind of ignore, look, weight loss is weight loss, right? And however you lose weight, you will feel different. You will feel lighter, you'll feel a bit thinner, and certainly the journey that you're on will make you feel physically and mentally better. But when I look at a client's check-in, how I determine whether my client's calories are correct is I kind of ignore their very first check-in, right? It's weight loss and it should be counted in your weight loss. So if you, from the start of your journey with me to week 12, if you've lost 18 pounds, you're 18 pounds down. And that is fantastic, right? But in terms of me looking at calories, I kind of take out the first 2 weeks because that's when we get the whoosh, right? I take out the first 2 weeks, but I always take it, let's say someone over the first 2 weeks loses 7 pounds. I class that myself as a pound or two, right? And then I look at the rest, once that initial whoosh is gone, I look at the rest of the data. And then, I put my clients into or I aim to the majority of my clients into a £1 a week fat loss phase. That's what I look at doing, right? On average. So if I look at a client and they've lost 18 pounds over 12 weeks, 6 check-ins, right? I'll probably take, and let's say the first check-in, they lost 6 pounds. I'll probably discard 4 pounds of that and just class 2, right? And then over the next 12 weeks, they've lost 10 pounds or 12 pounds. I'm like, right. So they've lost 14 pounds over 12 weeks, right? Well, their deficit is slightly bigger than a pound a week, but I'm all right with that. That's absolutely fine. Does that kind of make sense? So although when I calculate someone's calories, I don't know if they're absolutely bang on, I look at it over time. And certainly for my one-to-one clients, and I get a lot of one-to-one clients that are like, do I need to change it? If anything needs changing, when you check in with me, I don't just log your calories, right? Like a lot of people think, what? So I just send you my data and you log my No, I log your calories. Even if you lose every week, and I've not really got anything to do. I always say this: you're making my life really easy as a coach because I've given you a fantastic plan, and my plan is fantastic. You're following it to the letter of the law, and you're consistently losing weight. That's my job done. The value of me is in the plan. It's simple, it's straightforward, and if you stick to it, you'll lose weight, right? You don't need me any more than that. Now you might be like, well, why am I paying? Because I'm there when you do need me, and at some point in time, you will need me. You will need me to step in. You will need me to pick you up. You will need some advice. You will have 2 or 3 plateaus in a row where things slip a little bit. That's where then you need me, If every one of my clients, when they check in every other Friday, needed 20 minutes of my time, my plan's rubbish, right? And why I'm able to work with so many clients at one time, I get 60, 70 check-ins a week minimum, right? And, if every one of those check-ins took me 10, 15 minutes, I couldn't work with that many clients. I'd be sat here for 24 hours trying to do check-ins. I don't. Some check-ins take me 2 minutes to do. And I love those check-ins. Why? Because it shows how effective my plan is. And it shows how well my clients are sticking to my plan. I've got clients that I've worked with for 12 months that have lost £100, and I've hardly had to step in at all with any extra support and advice or direct support and advice because they're sticking to the plan, they're being consistent, they're getting the results on the scales. Dreamboat, right? Fantastic. Then I have other clients that, for whatever reason, are struggling a little. I was taking over. They've slipped. They're getting a bit complacent. Whatever. There's loads of different reasons. But what I'm trying to get at is, I've done this job for so long now, and I've had so much success with clients. I don't need to question myself anymore. And I've stopped doing it. I had a couple of clients this week that checked in with me, and they've come on board and they're just plateauing. And I'm like, and 2 years ago, I would have been there. Oh, maybe it is my calories. Maybe I haven't quite calculated them correctly. Maybe we need, I don't do that anymore. I've done this job for too long. Right. And I'm too experienced now. And I'm literally like, the calories are right for your current weight, for what you're moving, your calories are right. So why aren't you consistently losing weight? Because I've told you to stick to, on average, 1,750 calories a week, and you're not doing. It really is that straightforward. What isn't straightforward is I then need to find out or try and work out why, or get my client to understand why they're not. Right? Why they're not sticking to it. It could be something as simple as, I'm not looking over the shoulder of my clients, right? I can't because it's online, right? I have to take what my clients tell me at face value, right? But and I never want my clients to think that I'm accusing them of lying to me when they, and I get it. I get clients that swear on their family's lives that they're eating the calories that I've set. And I'm like, you think you are. Dead simple. You think you are, but you're not. Right. And this could just be, it could be something as simple as you're guesstimating a bit too much. There's holes in your diary. It could just be something simple as you're just not very good at tracking. Right, we have to, due to calorie counting apps, tracking calories is straightforward, but still, some people just aren't great at tracking calories. They're not very good at, understanding serving sizes. So they're scanning a tin of beans, and when you scan a tin of beans, NutriCheck puts in half a tin because that's a serving. It does make me wonder how many people have a full tin of beans, scan the tin of beans, and just think tin of beans is in 200 calories. No, tin of beans is, or 170 calories. No, tin of beans is 340. Right? But how many people just think, yeah, and they don't look at it. And even though it says half a tin, people just are a little bit kind of ignorant to it in a way. They just think, scan a tin, it puts the tin in. It doesn't, it puts the serving size in. Scan a pizza, 300, a Carlos pizza from Aldi, scan it. It puts in half a pizza, right? Now, for me personally, this is just my own personal opinion. I think it would, I don't know if it'd be better if it put in a full tin of beans and then you just adjusted the app for how much you're eating, or whether it should just automatically put serving sizes in. Because at the end of the day, some serving sizes are rubbish. How many people are just scanning the Cocoa Pops box and it puts in, 30 grams, and then they're just guesstimating and going, 30 grams is a bowl. Must be a bowl. So you're eating 500-600 calories of Cocoa Pops and you're putting 140. Now, some of you might be sat there going, as if people are that daft. And they're not daft. It's an answer's only easy. A question's only easy if you know the answer. Some people just don't understand it. We've never been taught this. We've never been brought up being more conscious about calories, looking at different foods. And people just are a little bit like subconsciously ignorant to it. They're not looking and going, oh God, right. So when I scan Cocoa Pops, it's 30 grams isn't a bowl. 30 grams is a third of a bowl. And I'm having 3 times that. But this is then my job as a coach. And sometimes it can be as simple as that. You know, people always use the analogy of a splash of oil in a pan. Very, very common because oil is very, very calorific. But you can use a splash of oil in a pan, right? And you might track it as a teaspoon of oil, 40 calories. And actually, there's 3 teaspoons gone in there, 120 calories. If you're doing that every single day, that's 700 calories out. What else are you out with? You know? So there are, you know, again, my job as a coach. But what am I getting at? I'm getting at the calories that I give people are right? So, but again, one of my jobs as a coach is getting people to understand the difference between fat loss and weight loss. And we have to stop seeing all fat gain and weight gain. We have to stop seeing all weight gain as a negative thing. And if you're tracking your calories, and if I've worked your calories out, whether you've joined my community, you've come on my one-to-one plan, and if you want to do that, TikTok profile, come get involved. If you're sat there now questioning things, stop it. You don't need to when you're on plan with me. You don't need to question if your calories are right? If I've worked out your calories and you're not losing weight, we just need to work out why you're not accurate with the calories I've given you, right? If I'm being brutally honest, 9 times out of 10, people know. People know. They just don't want to face the reality of it. We put ourselves in the dark on purpose, you know? And when people work with me and they know that they can't pull the wool over my eyes, they open up. And, you know, and the amount of times I do get, you know, I'll kick back with clients now. I will. I used to be really soft, right? And I'm not a hard coach by any means. Any of my clients that are on the lives now will say that. I'm not. I always try and turn every negative into a positive. I always try and pick you up. I always try and keep you, you know, feeling as positive as possible with your journey. But last year, right, I started kicking back. I started being a bit more, no, come on, reality check now. You say you're doing this and you're not, right? So enough faffing about. Let's get to the bones of it. And I'm only like that with clients that are kicking back themselves. You know, if they start questioning my coaching or my expertise, I'm like, nah, you don't question that because my success rate is too good now to be questioned. Right. And I'm not being big headed when I say that. The date is there. You know, there'll be plenty of people that can come on this live now and go, yeah, I've worked with Neil for a year. I've lost 4 or 5 stone. I've worked with Neil for 2 years. I've lost 10 stone. There's loads of you guys on here now. Right. So, but yeah, we have to start understanding weight loss, weight gain. So what started me going on with this is James there saying, start doing again. Is it going to affect my weight on the scales? I'll answer you. It could do, but not in a negative way, even if that's weight gain. Even if it counterbalances, if you lose 3 pounds of body fat over 2 weeks and you're carrying a little bit of swelling from lifting weights, pound of water retention, and you see a 2 pound loss instead of a 3 pound loss, if you know your calories are bang on, right? And you're like, yeah, I track my calories to a 5,000 calorie deficit a week, which is 1.5 pounds of fat loss a week. Yeah, for the last 4 weeks, instead of losing 6 pounds, I've lost 5. There's obviously something counterbalancing the scale somewhere, but I know I'm still losing the fat. And then at some point in time, the body you'll get an equilibrium. The body will balance itself out. And then you'll get, you know, we never question bigger losses. We only question smaller losses. You know, I'll get clients that 1 week, one check-in, so they check in every 2 weeks, my client, that'll lose 4 pounds. They never question it. Not many do. Couple do, right? Callum that's on the live now is very good at it. He's very good at analysing his journey. And sometimes he'll get a loss of 5 pounds or 4 pounds. And he'll say when he's sending his check-in over, kind of feel this might be a little bit of a false positive because I've had a stomach bug for 2 days. Or, you know, I didn't really eat much yesterday because I was so busy. And obviously going to the toilet's pretty consistent. So I think I've just reduced my food weight a little bit. Very, very good at it. He's very, 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 very good at analysing his own data, which is what we should be doing. Because Callum never gets carried away. Like everyone, he does question when the losses aren't there. right? And everyone questions when the losses aren't there, or even if it's a loss, people will question when they don't get the losses that they want, right? But it's very rare. You know, how many of you guys get on the scales, right, and you have an abnormal loss, which is like, you know, you're 3 months into your journey and you just get on the scales, whether you weigh weekly or fortnightly, and you lose 4 pounds. You're buzzing, aren't you? You don't go, how come I've lost 4 pounds this week? How come I've lost way more weight than I normally lose a pound a week on average? How come this week I've lost 4? No one ever questions that. You only ever question when you don't get the result. You know, everyone wants to see a 4 pound loss every week. Yeah, but we should be questioning it, and not in a negative way. We should just be understanding why we get different weight losses, or even, you know, at different points in time. You know, one of the big things I've done with that I do with my female clients is to get them to really understand how. And it's amazing. It was quite amazing to me how many, when I first started coaching, how many female clients didn't take into account time of the month and how it causes, you know, every female that goes through time of the month understands it causes bloating. They feel, you know, different. They also get different cravings, which might mean that they eat a few more refined carbs than they would do normally. This is all a contributing factor to feeling a bit bloated around TOTM. But then, even though they have all these feelings, right, when they get on the scales and they don't see a loss or they see a pound gain, they're like, oh, I'm gutted this week, I've gained a pound. Now, because I talk about time of the month and I work with my female clients to understand this, you know, the perceptions changed massively since I started coaching. And I think I do talk about it on lives as well. And obviously, you guys, even if you don't work with me directly, you take a lot of information from my lives. And yeah, and I get a lot less now. You know, I get so many check-ins, you know, happy with the £0.5 loss. Time of the month happened 2 days ago. I'm feeling a bit bloated. And then next check-in, rather than losing £2, which would be the average, they might lose 3.5 because they've lost the water retention that they've gained from this check-in. That's gone, plus the normal fat loss. Yeah. So it has to be a learning curve. Weight loss has to be a learning curve, and it's all about the end goal of being positive about the whole journey. That's what the end goal is, right? It's one of my end goals as a coach for every single person, whether you work with me on plan, whether you work with me in my community, whether you just follow me on lives. My end goal as a coach is to get people to have a much better relationship with weight loss as a whole. If we have a better relationship with weight loss, a better understanding of how it works, that keeps us more positive about the journey. The more positive we feel, the less negative emotion that takes over along the journey. And it just helps us control calories more. It eliminates, maybe not fully eliminates, I don't think you can fully eliminate it, but it massively reduces things like emotional eating. It massively reduces self-sabotage, right? And those are two big, like, issues to why people fail on their weight loss journey. Mentally, right? That's a mental fail, right? And weight issues are a mental health issue, right? They are. Obviously, we have physical reasons why we fail, and that's down to approach. And so many of us jump onto crazy fad diets that are non-sustainable, and that's a reason. But a lot of people do an unsustainable fad diet, but they fail way sooner than they probably should. There are fad diets out there that aren't the most restrictive, that aren't the most unsustainable. You know, Slimming World, for the rights and wrongs of it, and from January, you're going to be having sips instead of sins. You know, Slimming World, for the rights or wrongs of it, isn't the most unsustainable fad diet. Yes, it gives you a very poor relationship with food. It's, you know, it is overly restricted with sins and stuff like that. But in reality, you're not really deprived of eating food. You are deprived of eating calorific food, and we do need those boundaries, but not quite as severe as some of them. And it's not great for mental health. But really, and especially nowadays with the way Slimming World's been twisted left, right, and centre from themselves, you know, you go into Iceland, free food. this meal's free food. This meal's free food or sin-free. This is a sin-free meal. It's free food, right? There's loads of that everywhere. So, and then there's loads of Facebook groups where people have, manipulated it so you can actually overeat on Slimming World. So, but why do, Slimming World for me should, for the majority of people, be at least a 6-month thing, right? If you're stuck, if you've got the motivation to lose weight, the unsustainability of Slimming World really shouldn't be kicking in until about 6 months in. So why do so many people quit it after a month, 2 months, 3 months, right? It's down to self-sabotage, mental health, keto. I think the sustainability of keto for the majority of people is a couple of weeks, cutting a food source out that is 50 to 60% of their diet normally or more, right, is a couple of weeks. I think intermittent fasting, if you're doing a 16-8 intermittent fast where you eat from 12 p.m. till 8 p.m., I think is probably 3 months, right? I don't think it's the most restrictive diet in the world. I think it's probably 3 months, right? But again, people will come onto a diet and they're off it in 2 weeks. Why? Is it the unsustainability of the plan, or is it the fact that mental health factors are taking over, like emotional eating, self-sabotaging, stuff like that? I've gone off on a right one there, haven't I? Can you tell I'm back in the game a bit today? I'm still feeling tired. I was white tired yesterday. I think it was like my first full day back at work, getting up, and I was up at like 5:30 yesterday morning. I taught back-to-back spin classes, which is pretty knackering anyway. And I was a bit last night. I did not have much energy or enthusiasm last night. I don't know if you could tell during the live. I'm always trying to be. This last night, I've had 7 hours sleep. I didn't get up till 7 o'clock this morning, so I'm feeling more energized. Anyway, I've not said hello to everyone yet. I'm just going off on a waffle. I know when these clocks change because it's always the weekend after my birthday. Yeah, the clocks are going back. I don't actually mind it. I'm kind of at that stage now. I'm like, just let me winter, right? Even if it's sunny for a day, you're not going to get like a warm day anymore. You might get, there's might be a bit of warmth in the sun, but we're in fleece weather now, coat weather. I'm like, come on, as long as it stays dry, I don't care. And I actually really enjoy a good winter's day. When it's like you breathe in and it stings your nostrils a little bit, frost on the ground, sunny all day. I love that. This weather now is horrible, isn't it? It's like 11, 12 degrees. It's cloudy. It's misty this morning. It's just a bit, So I'm ready. Let's just have winter. Let's just get it in. Shut the curtains at 4:30 at night. I love it. I actually don't mind this time of year. My worst time, January, Feb. Feb's just brutal, isn't it? So this time of year, I like it, and you get another couple of weeks down another 3-4 weeks, maybe less than that. Christmas adverts start coming on, and that always cheers things up. You might hate Christmas. I love Christmas. So, yeah, I am looking forward to it. Anna, good morning. Back on plan yesterday, despite the issues. Small meals only, so sandwiches with protein mainly. Good stuff, Kevin. Glad to have you. Back on board, mate. And feeling a bit more positive about things. Not going to lie, I've done keto and managed to stick to it for a maximum of 2 months was hell. Yeah, I've done keto before. I've done keto on this weight loss journey, and I actually did it not as I did it with a mate in the gym, guy that worked in the gym, and we were just experimenting with different diets. And I did it for a month, and it was horrible. Do you know what I missed massively with keto? Was texture, crunch. You don't realize, like, when you're just eating protein and fat, like I made a lot of like Parmesan twirls, as it were, ate a lot of nuts, ate a lot of pork scratchings, which obviously isn't, overconsumption. Doing it for a month isn't going to affect your long-term health, but doing it for a long period of time. But you miss texture, you miss crunch, you really do. Things like just a sprinkle of granola on your yogurt bowl. things like that. It's a piece of toast. You know, and I'm a crunch guy. I like a bit of texture, so everything's sloppy and soft. You know, and yeah, it's just a crunch and some veggies. You know, don't get me wrong. When I did keto, did I have veggies? I did quite strict keto. You know, I stuck to like less than 20 grams of carbs a day. So when you're doing that, you can't really have much veg. Had a little bit, had salad stuff like lettuce and things like that, because you can kind of fit that in because that's very, very low carb. But yeah, it was really, really tough. Lost a lot of weight, but obviously the majority of the weight loss was, I would say when I did keto, I was probably doing around, I didn't count calories while I did it. We sort of said that, you know, me and my mate, we said, let's just eat meat and dairy sort of thing, as it were. And it was proper. I think I ate mushrooms. So you were doing, it's proper keto, like, you know, bacon, sausage, eggs, and mushrooms. So no beans, no toast with your breakfast. Yeah, snacking on a lot of peanuts, pork scratchings. What else was I eating? I was eating a lot of my, like, you know, my chili that I make, but I wasn't putting beans in it. So I was doing like turkey and chicken chili, using tin tomatoes, again, very low in carbs. Putting some peppers and onions in there, but just a lot more meat. And honestly, it's just not appetizing at all. I started Slimming World 4 weeks ago to get me started, but I've gained instead as I'm not even following the plan. I don't even know why people are still doing Slimming World. I generally don't. And that's why they've rejigged it all. Because obviously Slimming World will have been hit massively. There's a few accounts I follow on like social media that were you know, Jenny's SW journey, or, you know, SW with Eileen or whatever, you know, loads of accounts. And they've all changed now to Jenny's MJ journey or MJ with Eileen. So obviously they've lost a lot of clients to Mounjaro, which will massively have affected their business. And again, and I think just people like me coming on and highlighting the flaws in Slimming World, I generally think it's had its day. And I think this not rebranding, but rejigging of the plan that's launching from January, where you're going to be having your sips instead of, you know, they're going to be focusing on high calcium, high fiber, and high healthy. You know, you're going to be able to have, I'm going to have a proper read into it, but you're going to be able to, from January, you know, I don't know if they're going to class it as what we call free foods, where you can eat as much healthy fats as you want, as much high fiber foods as you want. Why they've not done, I don't know why they've not rebranded it high protein, high fiber, high healthy fats or something like that. And then it's now going to be sips. But I generally don't understand, you know, people that certainly follow people like me on TikTok, why people still bounce to it. Because, you know, how many times have you done it and failed? You know, what's going to change? Why a lot of people bounce back to things like Slimming World is they blame themselves for failing. They literally don't blame Slimming World. Why? Why don't you? It's like, you know, if you go to a restaurant and it's a bit rubbish, you might give it one more go. If it's rubbish again, you don't keep going back. Or does anyone do that? Do you keep going to the same restaurant or cafe, or even though it's crap, you just keep going back and back and back on the off chance that this time, my 10th time of going to a rubbish restaurant where I hate the food, it's going to be actually good? You don't, do you? Right? So, you know, I also think people like not the regime of Slimming World. I think people like the support. It's something I've always given Slimming World a positive tick for is, you know, there's lots of Facebook groups out there. People, you know, they like the fact they can go and pick the mate up on a Thursday night, you know, go for a McDonald's with them afterwards, or go for a glass of wine with them afterwards and stuff. I think people like that. They like the fact that it's a local group where it can be quite a social thing, if that makes sense, you know. You know, but I generally don't understand why people even, you know, give it a go, you know, anymore. Slimming World just doesn't teach us control. I used to be a big Slimming World fan, but I realized how warped it was. People have just, And it's got to a point now where people just manipulate it. People just know how to manipulate the system. And we always do that. We always look to manipulate the system. By the way, I need to say morning to Yasmin on YouTube. I'll go through some Facebook comments. Pamela, if you've been in a deficit but don't lose weight 1 week due to water or extra salt, etc., is the weight loss for that week lost, or will you normally see a bigger loss? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So weight loss isn't linear, right? Fat loss is linear. Right? Weight loss isn't linear. So if you're in a 3,500 calorie deficit consistently, week in, week out, you'll lose a pound of this stuff. Why we say weight loss isn't linear? Because scales measure weight loss, they don't measure fat loss. So the results you see on the scales, right, will balance out. But if I just get, let me get Callum's plan up just because, you know, because I've been talking about him. So Callum's one of my clients. He started with me last October. Next week is our boss-versary, someone calls it. So it's our anniversary of working together for 1 year. Callum's lost 56 pounds. He's 4 stone down, which is just perfect fat loss for a year. Absolutely perfect. He's nailed it, right? So Callum, his first loss was 6.5 pounds on plan with me. And that includes his whoosh. So he's reduced his food weight, his water weight, and his water retention in his body alongside fat loss. Callum's loss after that, he lost 2 pounds, right? His loss after that was another 2 pounds. So this isn't his total losses. These are just his losses each check-in, right? So Callum lost 2 pounds, right? Second or third check-in, he lost another 2 pounds. On his fourth check-in, I'm going to have to work out the maths here because I haven't got, he lost 3.6 pounds. On his next check-in, which was his post-Christmas check-in, to be fair, this is after Christmas, he gained 0.4 pounds, right? On his next check-in after that, he lost 4.6 pounds. On his next check-in after that, he gained 0.2 pounds, right? So we've had, and although we've had a post-Christmas check-in in there, you know, we're on 8 check-ins now, 16 weeks, and he's had 6 losses and 2 gains, right? On his check-in after that, he lost 5 pounds. On his check-in after that, he gained 1.2 pounds. So this is what I'm saying. It's not linear. He's seeing big losses, but his big losses here are being followed up with gains because that's just the scales balancing themselves out. So we could say these big losses are what we call false positives. It's where he's just caught the scales right. You know, after that, he then lost 4.2 pounds. After that, he then lost 2.8 pounds. After that, he then lost 4.4 pounds. Bang on. After that, he then lost 1.8 pounds. After that, he had a really good consistent of losses. But then from end of July, so the last 2 months or so, his weight loss has slowed down. But we go through periods of time where weight loss, you know, is easier, weight loss is trickier. And it just shows to me there that from sort of the end of July up until the end of September, really, Callum's weight loss didn't really move. He more maintained than lost. But that's just summer. His life was quite busy. He was doing a bit of, you know, he had a couple of breaks away. He had a few events on. And that's the way it is, right? But his average over a year is, well, he's got his check-in this week, so which will be his final check-in before our 1 year is up. You know, he's certainly averaging £1 pound a week. Well, just over that. Perfect fat loss, right? And I've just shown there, I've read out like 10, 12 of his check-ins, and he's had 3 gains, 9 losses, right? So yeah, it just balances out over time. So you're not wasting weight loss or fat loss. The success of a weight loss journey is not based on an individual result. It's about what you do over time. And if you want to know if you know, what I recommend doing is giving it 3 months, 12 weeks, and, you know, ignore your first kind of check-in or maybe your first weigh-in, right? Take it with a pinch of salt. But let's say you weigh weekly. So over 12 weeks, you've weighed 12 times. Forget your first one, the other 11 weeks. How much have you lost over those 11 weeks? And then divide that by 11, right? And if that number's around 1, right, that would indicate £1 a week on average. One of these lost a week on average is perfect. So let's say over 12 weeks, you've lost £14, right? But let's say over the 12 weeks, you've lost £16. But the first week, you lost 4. So that means you've lost £12 over 11 weeks. If we take 12 and divide it by 11, that's an average of £1.1 a week. Perfect fat loss. Now, you won't see a 1.1 loss even every week. Some weeks you'll have lost £2. Some weeks you'll have lost £0.5. The odd week you might have gained £0.5 or seen a maintain. It's about what we do over time. Yeah. Leanne, good morning. Glad you had a great holiday. I can't wait. I've got 6 days to go. Amazing, Leanne. Have a lovely time and just keep things in place for those next 6 days. Would you track things like Frylight? I track every single thing except that. Charlotte, I don't track anything that is less than 20 calories, right? I don't. Now, some of you might, and whether you do or don't, it's entirely up to you. About a year into tracking, right, I looked at, I'm not saying when I first started tracking calories, I was a little bit obsessive with it, right? I can get like that. Yeah, I get fixated on things like a lot of us can, right? And I love tracking calories. I love the control of it. But I'm a lazy person at heart. I've got a lazy mentality. And in some ways, that's a negative thing. And in other ways, that's a positive thing. Where my lazy mentality can be a positive thing is I look to make things as easy as possible, but are still effective, right? My weight loss plan is really simple, right? It's very, very straightforward. And the simpler something is, if you're building a chest of drawers from IKEA, if a chest of drawers has 50 parts or a chest of drawers has 200 parts, the chest of drawers that's 50 parts is going to be easier to put together than the one that's 200 parts. I always use the jigsaw analogy, right? If you take, right, let's take 2 Post-it notes, right? 2 green square Post-it notes, right? And I can make this into a jigsaw by ripping it up, right? So I've ripped this into 6 pieces, right? To put this square back together from 6 pieces, right, is a lot easier than if I take this Post-it note and I rip it into 12 pieces. So if I put the 6 pieces back together and I put the 12 pieces back together, right, I still end up with the same Post-it note, right? A lot of people make weight loss 12 pieces. I make it 6, right? When you put it both together, you end up with the same outcome. It's always been my philosophy for everything to make something as simple as possible. So the simpler something is to follow, the more consistent you're going to be, the easier it is to be consistent, to adhere to. Yeah. So that's always been my kind of philosophy with weight loss. And when I first started tracking calories, I tracked everything to the nth degree, right? And it did get a bit obsessive. And I was kind of like, I like this. I like the control of tracking calories, but I want to do it in a way that I'm going to do it for the rest of my life rather than, and it did become a bit of a chore. And anything that becomes a bit of a chore or you feel like it's a ridiculous amount of effort, you're not going to be consistent with it. So, I looked at ways of, straight away, I started tracking my calories daily. And that's when I really started to look at calories weekly rather than daily. So from the start of my journey, I've always tracked calories daily. And I gave myself these 3 treat nights, but I was still like Monday, 2,500 calories, Tuesday, 2,500 calories, Wednesday, 2,500 calories, but with a treat night that gives me some flexibility. And that worked great. When I started tracking calories, rather than doing 2.5, 2.5, treat night, 2.5, treat night, 2.5, 2.5 with a treat night, right? I was like, right, well, let's stick to 17,500 calories. No, but you have these treat nights, right? And that's when I changed. I actually changed to 3,000 calories a day, right? 21,000 over a week. And then I could put my treat nights in when I wanted rather than being so rigid with it. So, you know, if I wanted Wednesday night treat night, I could have it. And eventually, when I had a lot more self-control over my food, I didn't need 3 treat nights a week. You know, my lifestyle changed a little bit. I stopped going to the pub on a Friday night, and that's when I moved more to having 5 lower days and 2 higher days. So I've always looked at evolving. But yeah, I looked at, you know, I was weighing my salad on my, you know, I'm making a sandwich, right? And it's literally, a sandwich should take a minute to put together, but a sandwich was taking me 3 or 4 minutes to put together because I'm weighing my lettuce, I'm weighing my onion, I'm weighing my cucumber. And when I'm tracking it, I'm literally like, you know, 2 slices of bread, 220 calories, you know, 5 grams of butter, 40, 50 calories, you know, 60, 70, 80 grams of ham, 100 calories, right? And then I'm like, 3 grams of lettuce, 2 calories, you know, 4 grams of onion, well, you know, 10 grams of onion, 6, you know, and I'm like, this is just so, don't get me wrong, there is a saying, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. But I was literally like, this is just a ball ache for the sake of 20 calories. You know, same with making like spag bol. I remember doing spag bol, and my spag bol has about 15 ingredients in it. The main ingredients is mince, onion. Sometimes I put like grated carrot in there, tin chopped tomatoes, tomato puree, right? Bit of brown sauce or barbecue sauce I'm going to put in it. There was a recipe for mine. I think I've done a recipe on YouTube for my spag bol. But then I also put paprika in it, garlic powder, mixed herbs, right? Some fresh garlic as well, you know, a couple of OXO cubes, salt, pepper, right? These are all ingredients in there. And I used to weigh them out and track them. And I'm like, pepper, you know, 1 gram of pepper, no calories. 1 gram of salt, no calories. 5 grams of, or 10 grams of paprika, 6 calories. And I was just like, do you know what? The effort I'm putting in, and I went through my diary and I looked at everything that I tracked that was under 20 calories. And it literally worked out like less than 200 calories for the entire week. And I'm like, this is taking up more time than everything else. And it's for less than, I'd rather be 200 calories inaccurate and I'm still in a well over 3,000 calories. And just so that's when I stopped doing it. And I said to myself, I'll stop doing it for 3 months. And if my results change, then I'll add it back in. Never did. In fact, I just found tracking a lot simpler. So now don't get me wrong. You give people an inch, they'll take a mile, right? So with that philosophy of not tracking stuff that's under 20 calories, some, you know, there is a little bit of common sense that needs to prevail with it. So I remember, I've told this story a few times. I remember when I first told this online that I don't track anything under 20 calories. And I remember someone commenting, and again, this is like Slimming World mentality, trying to manipulate the system. And someone commenting, a Malteser is 11 calories, so I'll just eat 1 an hour. Fine, do that, right? And over the course of the day, you're going to consume 150 calories of Maltesers, and they're not going to be in your app. You're cheating the system. You know, I'm talking about herbs, spices, you know, your fry lights, 1 calorie a spray. You put 10 sprays in a pack, it's 10 calories, right? That's a 1/4 teaspoon of oil, right? And, you know, like I say, if you're given an inch and your mentality is to try and take a mile, then you know, you're going to fail with your journey anyway, right? But there's little things that we can do. So yeah, I don't use fry lights anyway. It's crap, right? And I don't mean it's crap as in it's ultra processed and all this nonsense that people go on about. I'm not saying ultra processed foods are nonsense, but the fear mongering around them is nonsense. It's just rubbish in it, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. It's literally oil mixed with water, mixed with stabilizers, mixed with something else. And they call it a pan destroyer. It is. If you do use fry light, never put it into a hot pan. You always spray it into a cold pan and then let the pan heat up with the fry light in it. But yeah, it just doesn't. I just rather use oil and build it into my use calorie controlled oil. So I've got a spray gun. I think I bought it off TikTok Shop years ago. And one spray is like 10 calories, like quarter teaspoon, because I've done I've put like a pot on my scales and sprayed it, and it came out at like 1 gram or 1.5 grams of oil. So I have that spray gun. So every spray is 10 calories, right? And I just have it filled up with, well, I've got two. Got one that's filled up with olive oil and one that's filled up with rapeseed oil, right? Depending on what I'm cooking. If I'm cooking something that's, now again, I don't weigh salad on a sandwich. Do I weigh salad if I'm having a salad? Yes. Right. So, I might do a quick and easy salad and I might get 200 grams of lettuce, a 200 gram bag of lettuce. I actually don't know what 200 grams of lettuce is calorie wise, but, again, it's just about, so if I'm using 200 grams of lettuce, 100 grams of cucumber, 100 grams of onion, I will track it, right? Just like I track my veggies. I'm talking like anything that's under 20 calories. Or if I'm creating a salad, that each individual item might be under 20 calories, but the salad altogether in a bowl is 100 calories. Of course, I track that, right? So again, it's, some people might be like, right, well, what I'll do is I'll only put enough milk in my tea that's 19 calories, so I don't need to track it, but I drink 10 brews a day. So that's 200 calories you're missing out on. So again, there has to be a little bit of common sense with it, if that makes sense. I think I asked the same question. Sorry, I joined late. Pamela, no, it's fine. It's fine. Absolutely, ask away. If you join late, or you ask any questions you want. Right. I'm so glad you said this about salad. I hate weighing every last bit of salad. Yeah. So, like I say, and we can guesstimate foods. I'm very much like tender stem broccoli. Right? I eat 2-3 packs of it a week. Rachel doesn't eat it, so I don't weigh my tender stem broccoli. Right? I roughly give one pack is 200 grams. Now, don't get me wrong. If you actually weigh a pack, one pack might be 240 calories. One pack might be 180 calories. You don't need to be that pedantic with it. Again, I've seen loads of people saying you need to weigh your bread. I don't weigh my bread, right? So I just take for face value what the nutritional label is. Yeah, because everything will even out. Everything will even out over time. So, a slice of Warburton's bread, it might say on the packet it's 45 grams. You might weigh a slice of bread and it's 55 grams. Yes. All right. That is another, 30 calories on top. And you might, well, I'm missing out on 30 calories there. It's like, yeah, but how many slices of bread have you had that's 40 grams? So it's less. Again, you don't need to be that pedantic, because what that does is, yes, it might make your tracking ridiculous if you weigh every single thing. So you don't trust serving sizes. You don't, you weigh your bread, you weigh your, you buy your sausage and it says one sausage is, approximately 120 calories for, I don't know, 100 gram sausage, and you weigh your sausage. It's like, no, the sausage is 80 grams, or the sausage is 150. I get it. It's going to massively increase your accuracy. But to what extent of then making tracking calories unsustainable because you're too obsessive with it, right? So like my pack of tender stem, 100 grams of broccoli is 36 calories. So when you're working with something that's not calorie dense anyway, it doesn't make a ridiculous amount of difference. But I just will take a pack of tender stem broccoli and I'll roughly split it in half, right? And I'll track it as 100 grams. And then when I have the other half, I track it as 100 grams. The first half I have might be 120. The second half might be 80. It's still 200 grams of broccoli. Chicken breast. I did it yesterday. I got chicken breast mini fillet. Pack of mini fillets, 400 grams. I just split the pack in half, right? Now, I might have yesterday had 230 grams of mini chicken breast fillets, right? And then when I eat the other pack, it might be 180 grams. It doesn't matter. I tracked yesterday's 200, and when I have the other half of the pack, I'll track that as 200. There might actually have been 430 grams of chicken breast fillets in there. So I'm actually, but again, the way I've tracked calories, I've done it for years, right? And I've consistently lost weight doing it, right? And I feel I track calories in the most sustainable way there is, which is why I've adhered to it for 9 years. I've been tracking calories consistently, other than on being on holiday or at Christmas, since February 2016 to October 2025. I have tracked calories week in, week out, other than being on holiday, being on a break, or Christmas. Other than that, I track calories. I've never gone through a period of normal 9 to 5 weekday routine where I could go. Some weeks, some periods of time, I've been a little bit complacent, a little bit inaccurate. I went through a period of time where I was tracking my calories, and I was accurate roughly to tracking the calories, but I was just eating too much, right? But I've tracked calories day in, day out for 9 years, 9.5 years, right? And, you know, one of the reasons why I've been so consistent with it is the way I track them. You know, I don't stick to daily amounts, I stick to weekly amounts. I don't see my weekly amount as a set in stone target. I see it as an ideal target, and I fully have made myself aware that through fault of my own or non-fault of my own, every now and then I'm not going to stick to my ideal target. You know, I try and have 5 lower days, 2 higher days. Some weeks I'll have 6 lower days, 1 higher day. Some weeks I'll have 4 lower days, 3 higher days. Some days, you know, I normally like to have my higher days on a Saturday, Sunday. Some days I'll need to have a higher day on a Tuesday. This is all my mindset, which keeps me positive, which keeps me, you know, I don't beat myself. You know, the amount of messaging I've blown it. I've blown it. I had a high calorie Tuesday. You can't blow anything, right? You've had a higher calorie Tuesday. Did you track it? Did you stay accountable to it? All that's going to mean, I have a high calorie Tuesday when it's not planned, is going to mean you're either not going to quite stick to your ideal deficit this week. Worst case scenario, you'll end up in calorie maintenance because your high calorie Tuesday is not going to have blown 3,500 calories. For most people, it's not, right? It's a Tuesday. You've got time to catch yourself back up a little bit. It's not the best feeling in the world chasing your tail, but you've got time to do it. You know, this is putting a positive spin on everything. You know, I pre-track. I don't obsess over things. I've learned to track, like I say, if I'm having a tin of beans, I don't weigh my tin of beans, right? I split it in half because I know I'm having that tin of beans, right? And quite often I'll do this, right? I'll literally, right, I'm having a tin of beans or I'm having half a tin of beans for my lunch. I'll open up the tin of beans. I empty out what I think is half. I track it as half a tin of beans. 2 days later, I'll have the other half of beans. Like I say, on Tuesday, I might have 220 grams of beans. On Thursday, I might have 180. Right, but I track it's 2-2, and it just means on Tuesday my portion's slightly bigger, on Thursday my portion's slightly smaller, but I still have 400 grams of beans because I've had 1 tin. Right, little things like that built into. Do I still weigh stuff? Of course. You know, I'm going to go make a yogurt bowl now. Right, I weigh my protein powder. I know a scoop of whey, a level scoop of Perform is 28 grams on the scoops that they give you. Right. I'll still weigh it, right? I'll still do a level scoop, and I'll still have my bowl on my scales, right? You know, I'll weigh my yogurt. I'll still weigh my fruit. I still weigh a lot, right? But there's certain things I don't weigh because I don't need to, and I don't obsess over like, you know, certain. Well, I can't do. Oh, there we go. Sorry, TikTok just want me to confirm I'm still online. You know, like I say, little things I've said about broccoli, about beans. A slice of bread, if I'm having 2 slices of Warburton's bread, I just track it as 2 slices of bread that's in nutrient. I don't weigh that bread out. I don't, you know, and if that means I'm in I mean, I put myself in about a 6,500 calorie deficit a week. So if the way I track calories means at the end of the week I'm in a 6,000 instead of, I don't care because it's worth the trade off of not being quite, you know. But again, can't have that mentality of if I'm given an inch, I'm going to take a mile, right? It's about being as accurate as possible while doing it in as sustainable fashion as possible, right? Because if you try and be stupidly pedantic with it, it's just going to get very, very obsessive, become a chore very, very quickly. And if that's how you feel when tracking calories, anything that feels like a constant effort, you're going to drop it out. You're going to stop doing it. You know, it's like going to the gym. You know, you should enjoy going to the gym. You should look forward to it. If every time you're going to the gym, it's making you miserable because it's this constant struggle day in, day out, drag yourself there, eventually you'll stop going, right? Same with getting your steps in. Same with planning your food, right? If you're constantly going, oh God, I need to eat grilled chicken and roasted Mediterranean veg again tonight because that's the type of food I have to eat to lose weight, you're not going to adhere to your diet. You should, you know, my eating today, all within calories, with health in mind as well, a little bit, right? Always. Yogurt bowl, can't wait to eat it. Tastes delicious. I'm making steak and egg tacos, replicating what I know it's going to be absolutely delicious. Can't wait to eat it. I'm having my chicken, rice, broccoli, and Chinese curry sauce for my tea. Delicious. Can't wait to eat it. Right? I'm eating 3 calorie controlled meals. It's going to be full of protein, decent amount of fiber, right? That's going to taste absolutely amazing. Why wouldn't I stick to it? Why would I struggle to be consistent sticking to eating food that I love? I don't struggle being consistent eating pizza or fish and chips, right? So you need to think about that with food that you're going to eat to lose weight. You need to enjoy your diet. Too many of us get fixated on what we class as weight loss food, which we don't enjoy. You know, and again, it's part of my coaching. I try and teach my clients. You know, if you look at all my recipes, you know, you put recipes, you put food ideas on. The reason why a lot of people share my meal ideas because they want to eat them, right? And a lot of people are like, wow, I can eat chicken and pasta and that while in a, you know, I never knew I could. I had this mentality. Someone told me 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, before I started my weight loss journey, yeah, you could eat a burger and chips and lose weight. I'd be like, no. The reason why I struggle to stick to my diet is because I love a burger and chips, but I can't have them. No, you can. You can have them once a week, twice a week. Now, having a 2,000 calorie burger and chips 2-3 times a week probably isn't going to work, but we can make swaps. 5% fat burger, brioche bun, low fat cheese slice, air fried chips. It's a burger and chips. It tastes great, right? It genuinely does. I wouldn't eat it if it didn't. I only eat food that tastes good. I know that's a personal opinion, but you know. Anyway, there we go. I feel like I'm proper energized this morning. I've not stopped bloody talking. Would you change your calories if you didn't eat all the meal? Yes, 100%. Yeah, someone asked me that the other week. It might have been you again. I can't remember. So let's say, so I'm a big believer in pre-tracking. So let's say this never happens to me, right? This is something that doesn't happen to me because what goes on my plate goes in my trap, goes in my belly. But let's say I'm making my steak tacos today, right? And it's 2 tacos, 150 grams of steak, 2 eggs, onion, jalapenos, a little bit of hot sauce. You can adjust it to your own taste, right? And let's say you made that at home. Now I'm going to smash both those. It's 620 calories. And when you track it in NutriCheck, so all my recipes on YouTube have a link to track in NutriCheck. So if you use NutriCheck, you just click the link and it'll add it into your meal plan, right? So you don't even need to worry about tracking it as long as you follow my ingredients and the way I make it, right? Let's say you made my steak tacos, and let's say you ate 1.5, and you're one of those strange people that after eating 1.5, you go, I've had enough. I'm full. I'm not eating anymore. You just go into your NutriCheck, and instead of putting in 1 serving, you put in 3/4 because that's what you've eaten, right? If you've eaten 3 halves, right, that is 3/4, right? So you put in 3/4. Yeah, and adjust. So yeah, so if you make a meal, so you might be like, right, I'm going to have fish fingers, chips, and beans. I'm going to make 300 grams of air fried chips. I'm going to have 4 fish fingers, and I'm going to have half a tin of beans. And at the end of it, you've eaten all your fish fingers, all your chips, but only half the beans. Yeah, instead of putting in 200 grams of beans, change it to 100. 100%. Yeah, if you're, if you don't eat all your food, adjust your meal. Definitely, right. It's not normal for me, but the last week or so I felt full rather quickly. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, adjust, of course. Whatever goes in your trap goes in your app. If you don't go in your trap, it doesn't need to be in your app. Right. I'm out of here. Guys, I've done a lot of waffling. A lot. Right. So if I've missed you and I've not said good morning, apologies. It is nothing personal. I'm gonna go. I need to eat. I'm hungry. And I'm back in 50 minutes. Guys, if you're on plan or in the community, I'll see you on Zoom in 50 minutes. We are doing scale versus non-scale victories. All right. So I'm going to talk about scale victories and how we should embrace them and accept them. Right. But then I'm also going to talk about non-scale victories and how, for me personally, I think they are worth more than scale victories. And I think we should set ourselves scale and non-scale targets. Right. So that's what we're talking about today. If you want to come and watch that live, come join the community. Get on plan with me. TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube page. I do 2 weight loss coaching lives, 1 week, 1 the following week, 2 this week. So they're both at 11 a.m. this week because normally I do 1 at 5 on a Thursday. But on a Thursday, this Thursday, I'm spinning. Right? I'm spinning every night this week, covering because we've got 2 people at the gym that are on holiday. And I thought it was a great idea to cover all those classes. Financially, it's a good idea. But physically, I'm semi-regretting it now. I'm not. I love my spinning. 11 a.m. this morning, weight loss coaching live, scale versus non-scale victories. Everything weight loss session, 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, changing the times of the Everything Weight Loss session. I'll talk about that in the session tomorrow. I'll tell you what I'm going to do going forward. I've never done this in the past because I thought it might be a little bit confusing, but something's caused me to trial it a couple of weeks ago. So I'll let you know about that. But again, that's just on planning with the community. So if you want to join my plan, join the community. £5 for your first month in the community using code WELCOME. No contract, cancel any time. So chuck a £5 in, come and say hello, see what it's all about. If you want to come on plan, it's $29.99 to sign up, $29.99 a month. I can get you going Monday. As long as you sign up before Thursday lunchtime and you get your consultation form over to me before Thursday tea time, I'll get you going Monday. So if you're sat there now struggling, asking all these questions, stop it. Chuck $29.99 in, get on plan with me, and I'll get you on the most healthiest, sustainable, successful weight loss plan there is. I'm going to say that. I'm confident. I'm very proud of what I've achieved as a weight loss coach and the results that my clients get. Don't get me wrong. You have to put the effort in. I'm not a miracle cure. And all my clients that have got amazing results on my plan have worked flipping hard. Right? But if you're willing to put the effort in, you will get the results. Guys, have a great Tuesday. On plan, community clients. I'll see you in about 45 minutes. I might be a little bit late. You know me. Everyone else, I am not back now on socials until Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. So I'll see you then if you're not on plan or in the community. TikTok, I'll sign up to you first. Have a great couple of days if I don't see you. And YouTube, Facebook. Again, if you're not on plan or in the community,